Alex Mercer might have saved New York City from complete destruction, but the Big Apple is once again terrorized by a viral outbreak in Prototype 2. The game sticks to its sandbox roots, but there's a new hero in the driver's seat this time around. With the ability to behave badly in an open environment so commonplace these days, does Prototype 2 find new ways to set it apart from the rest?
Here we go again. I'm gonna gut you like a fucking trout.
Prototype 2's viral outbreak is set just a few years after the first games, so the whole of New York City has a convenient scapegoat in former protagonist Alex Mercer. Hardened veteran James Heller, whose family was killed in the outbreak, has a particularly gnarly bone to pick. However, when he finally encounters the hooded rogue, he learns that there's somebody else pulling the strings. The conspiracies and lies keep piling up, but ultimately the only thing on Heller's mind the entire game is vengeance. It's a very dull plot that's predictable from start to finish, and the abrupt resolution tops off a forgettable tale that only gets in the way of the actual game.
If you spot Heller, kill him.
Roger that.
You ripped my friend's limb from fucking limb, and now I can do the same thing to you.
Prototype 2's playground hasn't received much in the way of new toys to keep you entertained with James Heller's suite of destructive tricks. The game certainly achieves a grand scale with a sprawling cityscape to explore freely, but the real problem here is the lack of significant incentives to trek through it aside from simply progressing through the story.
Thanks for the new toys, dipshits.
Prototype 2 is heavily focused on its mission-based structure, and side objectives, while present, are frightfully scant. What you're given are mere appetizers that involve beating up groups of enemies, tracking down hidden collectibles, and the rare opportunity for a quick power-up courtesy of consuming a random pedestrian. The game definitely hits its stride with the main objectives, but you'll quickly tire of the formulaic ways they unfold.
Why are we even here?
You're rewarded with new abilities as you level up, which at least makes clearing out your adversaries a bit easier to endure. Heller can morph his arms into various weapons, and each can be upgraded over time. Additionally, you can enhance other basic attributes like your speed or health, or make improvements to your existing attacks to make them more potent. This is where Prototype 2 is most rewarding, but it fails to get creative and put your abilities to the test. Instead, you're given basic tasks that simply ask you to cause chaos and mayhem, rather than encourage creative use of your destructive capabilities.
Shit, well that makes things easy.
There is an emphasis on maintaining a level of stealth as you masquerade about the city, and assuming other people's identities is paramount to success in many of the missions. The stealth angle could have been the most intriguing aspect of the game, but the consequences for failure are more or less trivial. You can simply brute force your way through any stealth scenario when your cover is blown. There are some incentives to playing nice, like experience bonuses, but when you're caught in a tight spot, it's all too easy to rely on brawn rather than brains, especially given how incredibly stupid the enemy AI can be at times.
Oh, Jesus! That asshole just ate Dr. Vandiver!
On the surface, Prototype 2 appears to be more than another generic sandbox game, but in fact does little to break the mold. Even the inclusion of new bonus challenges in a mode called RadNet, which is only accessible to those who purchase a new copy, does little to sweeten the deal. Those who favor mindless mayhem and carnage will find their fill here, but be warned, this one's a guilty pleasure at best.
What else you got?
Where are you going with this?
At least, getting around is enjoyable. Traversing the vast realm of New York City is easy, with simple controls that make you really feel like a superhuman as you run up the side of a building and leap off into empty space. You've also got the ability to glide around and boost, and while this gives you more flexibility in how you get about, being precise with your landings can be a bit tricky. Your supernatural abilities will be put to the test as you track down targets with your hunting skill, chase down villains, and try to escape from monstrous behemoths.
Don't shoot the specimen. It's worth more than all of you put together.
When you're not chasing down tasks, you'll likely be caught up in a skirmish. You've got quite a few tools at your disposal from the get-go, and as you progress, you'll gain even more. Attacks are limited to 1 or 2 types at any given time, which you can actively equip from a submenu. Dodging and blocking attacks is critical as well. It's a rather complex battle system for a game like this, but it's ultimately underutilized. All too often you're thrown into chaotic battles where there's just too much going on around you to account for, so you're rarely given a chance to properly experience the combat system.
Just one less boogeyman the city's gotta worry about.
Instead of trying to master melee combat, it's far more effective to resort to the big guns. Initially, you can take hold of firearms on the ground or from those you consume, but later on, you'll be able to hijack more powerful utilities like tanks and choppers. You'll also have a meter under your health bar that lets you unleash powerful attacks called Devastators that can quickly change the dynamic of any battle. When the chaos quickly escalates, trying to perform crowd control with your garden variety attacks usually won't cut it. You'll frequently need to resort to your more powerful abilities to scrape by on the battlefield.
Not as impressive as I'd hoped.
Keep talking, shithead.
The bottom line here is that Prototype 2 sports a refined combat system that's more intricate than what you'd see in other games like it, as well as fun traversal mechanics. But the developers simply didn't put them to good use.
The doctor is out, motherfucker!
You get the feeling that Prototype 2 cuts corners to achieve its grand scale. It would have been far more impressive to see the panoramic vistas of New York City without all the dated fog masking the draw distance. That said, it does an admirable job of expressing its gratuitous violence and gore as you hack helpless people to pieces and destroy everything in sight, but there are still instances where Heller's sometimes goofy animations diminish the effect. The game's audio gets the better end of the deal with a decent soundtrack and above-average voice work, but it's ultimately nothing memorable.
I'm not in fucking Blackwatch.
Jesus! Oh shit! No! Ah!
Where the original was intriguing for its gratuitously unhinged take on sandbox-enabled chaos, Prototype 2 feels like it's just going through the motions. The series badly needs an injection of creativity if it's to merit another installment. If you're satisfied with the status quo, you'll have a decent time running amok in this hazard-filled sandbox. But in spite of all the noise it makes, it's quite unlikely to surprise you.
That's the way you see it, huh?
You know it's true.